Welcome to episode 7 of the video blogcast, the vlogcast, the Let's Backflip show. I'm Ryan Fring, creative director. This is John Shoemaker, other creative director. We'll come up with better titles at some point, like King and Emperor.
Yeah,
is that cool?
It's like Emperor. It's like things that people do in small businesses,
just
but you really should not
make stuff up. Yeah, makes it way better. Actually, I read a post about that, like how annoying people find it to have like ninja on business cards when you're dealing with people. You're like, really? Okay, great. Well, I'm not going to hire you because I don't need a ninja to do this creative thing or code for me, jerk. So that's how we feel about that. Apparently, that's pretty strong. Today is episode 7. This is blog 19. We're getting up there. This is going to be awesome. So we're talking about why content is king, and this is a fun one. This is something we've started talking about over the years, and it's something that we kind of developed into, I think, and we saw happening with video over the years as we've been doing this. But it's also something that the market has really responded to largely in the last 10 years. So this will be really interesting to talk about.
Yeah. So help the viewer understand, because I already understand all this.
Yeah, you asked me the good questions.
So wasn't it content before? You know, what does it mean for it to be content now? Like, weren't the commercials and the advertising and the videos coming out before the wave of content marketing? Wasn't that content? Or how's this different?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I think you talked about it on a previous vlogcast. What was that one? Creative marketing.
Why you should content market.
Yeah, it's the importance of creative marketing. So we're kind of looking at content marketing, creative marketing, and we're talking in this podcast about why content is king. So you had talked about, back in the day.
That does sound like me.
Back in the day, we had TV that were sponsored by Campbell's Soup. That was a pretty good old guy, if I do say so myself.
I'm actually 230 years old.
What is it? I think Norway or Sweden? No. Monaco? Makoka. Dang it, I just watched a video yesterday. The longest living people. Like the average age or average death, 93 years old. And it's not Sweden. Sweden is close.
Bunch of complainers.
I think it's a warm place. Sweden's high up on everything else, though, and I think Iceland, actually. So all the Scandinavian countries are high up for everything, like quality of life, average death age, whatever, things like that. But Iceland is number 1. So that's really important to why content is king. So my point of commercials, so you would have TV shows and Lucy, or somebody go back even further. The mom in the show, what's that one with the little kid? Leave It to Beaver. Would be like, and we choose Campbell's soup because it's nutritious and delicious. Campbell's, the soup of the beavers. It's probably
Weavers, I think, is their last name.
Leave It to Weaver? I thought it was Leave It to Beaver.
It is Leave It to Beaver, but I think their last name is not Beaver.
It's not?
I don't know.
Is it Beaver Weaver?
I'm in uncharted territory.
Is his name Beaver Weaver? That'd be amazing. It's like,
If only somebody over there had a laptop.
Yeah. There's no way to know.
Yeah.
So the Weaver Beavers, the Beaver Weavers.
Okay.
That also is a unique thing.
It's right up there with fixing your poop hole. These are
the last name's Cleaver.
Cleaver.
We were both wrong.
Beaver Cleaver. So his name is Beaver Cleaver, right?
His is in the dad's Ward Cleaver.
Is it Ward?
Ward. Yeah.
Ward Cleaver.
That's a name.
And then June.
And then Sharp Cleaver.
Wally and Bee.
He's the one that we don't talk about. He went on that murder spree. So they would hawk the things in the commercial or in the TV show, right? So that is content. That is a TV show or a book or something. But in that way, marketing was kind of infused into what you were watching by forcing it into the world of the content. And specifically, we'll be talking about video today.
Yeah, and so I guess, okay. Yeah, I mean, they were actually doing that, and so then all marketing like moved away from that for a span of time.
Right. So then shows stopped getting sponsored in that way, because you used to have, Leave It to Beaver brought to you by Campbell's Soup, right? That was the name of the show. That would come up in TV Guide. Then we went away from that, and I think there must have just been different sponsorship levels for studios so that they could produce content without having that, because we did have a period of time, and it's maybe post 70s, post 80s, up to maybe early 2000s, but that might even be too late, where you just had TV shows that didn't have direct advertising in them. Then after that, we started getting that stuff back in there, where they would have a Subway sandwich, and turn the Subway and be like, oh man, this Subway sandwich is great.
You're talking about Chuck?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Chuck.
That was the one. And
such a good show.
When I saw that, it was so annoying.
Oh, I loved it. I totally was like, I am not bothered by this.
I can't remember how they did it though. Because like car dealers have done that for a while, where you roll up and you're like, okay, hero shot of this brand new car that this teenager is driving. Yeah, right. But now that you're saying that, I feel like Chuck might have done it in a really good way.
Yeah.
Like a self-deprecating, like they're irrelevant about it.
Another example here, just to go off on a Subway tangent, is in Community, in the show Community. Can't remember all their names now, but one of the ladies was making a sandwich shop in the like school cafeteria, or kind of like took over this vacant space, but then she gets like bumped out by Subway. I'm pretty sure that's what
that's the advertisement.
And that's the advertisement, but it's like self-deprecating.
Oh, that's great.
It's so funny. It's like...
Yeah, I like stuff like that.
And they like rip on it.
I feel like that kind of gets into kind of what we're talking about a little bit. It's that kind of that neo marketing that is infused in the content creation. So, post maybe early 2000s, we started seeing ads getting infused back into shows in kind of obvious ways. And even the Dana Carvey show, I just watched a documentary on this. The Dana Carvey show, the first 8 episodes were sponsored by people. So it was like, the Taco Bell presents Dana Carvey show. The Mug Root Beer presents Dana Carvey show. And they literally, got that sponsorship, started the show with an ad, like a dance or things like that. And they had the Mountain Dew version. And Dana Carvey was reflecting on it. And he's like, I don't think we advertised that very well. Because when we talked about everything that made up Mountain Dew, it just came off sounding like disgusting. Like, I think we kind of said it was like nasty is what the conclusion he came to after seeing it, even though that wasn't their intent. But it's kind of that return to that old style of like the Dana Carvey show brought to you by Taco Bell, where you get the cheapest meat at the lowest quality possible, So in that similar manner. Now, maybe around the same time, early 2000s, so that was maybe late 90s or early 90s, early 2000s, started seeing the resurgence of things going into shows. But then you also started seeing content that was just created to be beautiful, to create emotional impact, to, put something unique out in the world that people can experience. And that's what we're really talking about when we're talking about content is king, because people, we want to consume stories and images and beauty through video, books, all the forms of media that we have. We want to consume that because it, in some cases can bring us to a better place. It can take us like movies. Like I love horror movies and thriller movies because it brings me to an emotional place that I can't experience in my real life or don't.
You can.
I can't. That's a weird thing to say. Like I just need to hire an axe wielding, murderer to chase after me and I can experience that with a cleaver. Ward Cleaver.
Yeah.
That's a murdery name.
So that let's then talk about. So that was the. It's probably more like 2010. What's really weird about the 2000s is they feel very recent to me still. This is probably the effect of getting older.
You're really old.
Like 2000 feels recent, but it's really, really old when you look at like
the content that was coming out. Yeah.
So I want to say maybe like 2010 or...
All right, I'll give you late 2000s.
Is probably like when we start seeing that Chuck, having like the Subway sandwich that they're referring to right in the show and stuff. So that's that kind of content marketing. But then let's talk about the the marketing companies that there's not a show attached, and they're just making the content themselves.
Yeah, so that kind of gets into, and maybe we could look up the year. Can you look up the was it Volkswagen? BMW portrait of a BMW owner or something to that effect.
BMW stories or unscripted or something is what it's called.
So this kind of gets into the realm where we're creating content that is wonderful and beautiful that people want to. 2010. There you go.
Hey-o.
Hot dog. You win a prize.
Yeah.
I don't know what
hopefully it's a hot dog.
It's more coffee. So that's not the weirdest thing to hear in a podcast, like slurping.
Yeah, I guess in the audio version you can't see what's happening.
Yeah, that would totally be just terrible.
You're just suddenly in somebody's
in the video you'd
lips.
hear it, but at least you see it, so it's a little less weird. Anyway, what do you got for time? See how much time I got to wrap it up. Oh, you got so much time.
Perfect.
11 minutes left or 11 minutes total?
We're at 11 minutes. 11:46.
She just repeated herself.
Oh, we've been filming for 11 minutes.
Copy that. I understand that. So yeah, now this gets into an area where marketers are creating content that is consumable in your normal fashion, in an entertaining way, in a way that touches you emotionally. And somewhere, maybe at the end of it, maybe after the fact, maybe days later when you hear more about it, you learn that that's for a brand, that is actually a marketing piece. That is a less conventional commercial or promotional piece for a company. But these companies started realizing that, and this is actually something we talked about in the last week's vlogcast, the amount of consumption that people are doing and where they're consuming, that's where marketing needs to be. And so they're putting good quality content, including shows and images and stories in those places that we're consuming them. And that's where we've really discovered that, content is king. And so that's how we focus our marketing efforts. And we've started doing this with a few clients, like MG&E is one of them. And 2 weeks ago, we had a chat with Charlie, a marketer at MG&E, which conventionally you're like, oh yeah, okay, that's the bill I get every week or every month. And MG&E is Madison Gas and Electric. They're an electric company. And so you may think, conventional forms of marketing is the only thing that they would consider, but Charlie is so forward thinking and creatively minded, and he loves movies. So he's like, let's do something, in this content marketing area that really draws people in, that tells people a story, that bolsters the community, right? So we're trying to speak to millennials. So we're finding I was going to say unique pictures in the millennial community, but it's not unique because everyone is unique, right? Mm-hmm. So we're just finding people with stories in certain kind of demographics in different areas and different styles, adding a genre of film on top and telling a story that is blowing people's minds. They're like, why, I loved it and I want more. I want to learn more. Why is this coming from a power company? And that's a good place to be in, that people are asking those questions, because first they're having a good experience. First they're consuming it and, it's speaking to them on an emotional level in some way. And then after that, they're like, what did I just watch? What is this? Like, tell me more. Mm-hmm. And that's what we want people to do. And it's this weird thing where it's not a show. It's not specifically a commercial where we're like, and sign up today and you get 5% less energy on your bill. That sounds like the wrong thing. You get 5% less bills. I don't know. I'm clearly terrible at this style of marketing. But it engages people in a way that really only creative energy and creative projects can, that commercials can't.
And there's a difference there in terms of engagement. So the direct marketing, it serves a purpose, mm-hmm. and there are times when you do want to use it, even though it's not our favorite way to do mm-hmm. things. But if I want to let somebody know that this Friday this product mm-hmm. is on sale for 50% off because mm-hmm. I want to drive people to my store, well, then you should just be direct about that, and you put that out there in that way. People will see it. It's not going to make them. It may make them emotional, but it's not going to make them feel connected to the content. Right. They're just like, ooh, I want that. It's half price today.
That informational stuff is important at a certain time.
But when you're trying to create brand connection to somebody,
and build up that equity,
make you feel something where you create loyalty. Like, I'm going to stick with this company because I feel connected to them, and I'm going to keep going back there. That's where I get my, well, I don't know if people get to choose, but with that particular example of energy, but that's where I go.
But they're proud. Yeah, it's not just a bill. They're proud of the work that they're doing, that they're a part of the community, and they have to pay because it's their only option, perhaps. But
and
they
this
love it.
Maybe is more applicable in like nonprofit type organizations where you're needing fundraising and you're needing people to stay, donors. You need those connections. Like, I'm gonna stick with this organization. My dollars are gonna flow to them because I feel this connection with them. Or BMW taking that like risk with their car brand, but what they're trying to do is make people feel like, guess what, when this car goes, I'm looking for a BMW. I don't have that connection with any car brand. I'm always looking for the cheapest thing I can find at like
and that's what direct marketing won't be able to do. It won't be able to change your heart and your mind so that when you get to that point, because with large sales, that's a big thing. Like, how do you make somebody feel good about you so that when they're ready, they think about you and purchase you? And then certainly, like you're saying, direct mail can be more targeted toward those specific, instances. But I would even challenge that thought and say, all those other different types of touches in digital and print marketing, direct mail being a specific example, should speak to that voice still, and can, in a sense, also be a part of that content marketing. And I think we've done that before as well with email, with our website. If you go to our staff page, you see you dancing, it looks like a picture, you hover over it and it changes into something special. There might be dancing. I'm not going to say. Might be a character that you look like, there's a lot of characters you look like Rick Astley, Napoleon Dynamite, Beast from the X-Men.
Yeah. Bob Ross.
When You're Blue. Bob Ross. Oh my gosh. That was last year, right? Yeah. That was so good. So things like that, that is content marketing in a maybe non-conventional way.
So what do you have to do to be content marketing? Like, do you talk about your products? Do we get into prices and details, or do you have to do something else? Can you not talk about your products?
Yeah.
What's that zone for somebody to be in to sort of qualify as that? That's a
really good question, and kind of a good pivot point to go into more specifics. And the first question is the first answer is maybe a non-answer. Like, it depends, right? It depends on your company, it depends on your market, it depends on what you're doing. So I mean, that's kind of a generic answer in a lot of marketing. But then the more specific answer is, no one's going to care what you know unless they know that you care. Right. So all the direct mailings in the world aren't going to get you the level of success that you may want or need, or that you could get if you were to do creative content marketing to create something to really move people to love your brand. So where do you start? I think, kind of like we talked about last week, it's in an assessment of who we are. If you don't know who you are, then you don't know what type of content you can create, or who your target is. What do they want? What do they like?
Well, and we could talk about the difference maybe between the content marketing that we did with Phoenix Restoration and the content marketing that we have ongoing with the Diocese of Madison and their appeal fundraising videos. Like, one of them, there's a product that's in it pretty prominently, and one of them, there's not really a product, but they both speak to they both tell fun stories, and they're both content that people. Another definition that maybe the difference between direct and content, and we've talked about this in previous podcasts, is inbound versus outbound.
Efforts or marketing.
I'm seeking out this content to consume it, and the content I'm seeking out happens to be marketing to me.
Right. And choosing to consume that. That's a really great point. And those are great different examples. With the diocese, we produce a bunch of videos, but one every year is for their annual appeal to appeal for donations. It's kind of like your PBS telefund, but one day a year in the churches, they have, I got 5-minute warning. That's awesome. we'll wrap it up. I'll do it less awkward next time. I was in the middle of a thought. All right. So yeah, those are two really good differences to talk about. And with the annual Catholic Appeal with the diocese, that has a captive audience in church on Sunday on one day a year where they ask, for support for the organization, kind of like the PBS Telefund. And that has to, hit a couple different topics, like here's where the money's going. But really where we've pushed, this is our 6th year doing it, we've really pushed them into telling transformative stories, how it's affected people. I think the first one we started with, there was like 7 stories because they wanted to tell everybody's story and talk about every different pillar. And now we're down to one person with one story. We do talk about other pillars, but really, I think we've really distilled it down into that piece of content that can be really moving, where people can get invested and engaged by that person. And then at the end there is an ask. So it's a little less tricky. I don't love to be tricky, but I love to just create a really good piece of work and put it out there and not let people know.
Well, let's talk about, now this one's not as hidden, but so then the Phoenix Restoration one,
right.
There's not an ask there.
Yeah.
There's not a specific sale
But
thing.
there are clear products in there.
There's clear products, but it's still content marketing.
Absolutely. And the reason being is because we do talk about features. It's actually, we're kind of doing it in a snarky way. It's kind of like, I think maybe how Chuck did Subway or a community did Subway, in that we have the product in there, but really the first film is the, scientific testing, in air quotes, I'm doing, where we launch it on a winger, like on a rubber band winger at a target. We run over it with a giant wheel, steamroller. We explode it, with explosions. We had a pyro guy. It was amazing. We do all these things that are non-scientific whatsoever, but it's a comparison of products. And this was actually a reaction to a competitor's, and I do air quotes again, scientific testing, because our client came to us and said, hey, they're bashing us and their science isn't even good. How can we, show them that they're wrong? And we said, what if instead of showing them that they're wrong or lowering ourselves down to that level of, like fighting the schoolyard bully, what if we just rise above and create this really cool piece of content, this unique thing? No one's ever seen anything like this in your industry, where we just do something awesome. And that's what they went for. And it was amazing that they, chose that.
And maybe the summary between, those two and a lot of them is like, it was sharing who the organization is, it's sharing their personality and telling something fun that would be engaging or emotionally maybe not as fun, but still like emotionally engaging.
Yeah, those are two really good examples, and those even have a little bit more marketing in them than MG&E. In MG&E, the work we've done with them, they're short films, and there's plugs, there's LED lights, there's things in the scene, but they're so downplayed. I'm amazed that we got away with that. Charlie is the man in that he was able to convince the 6th floor, like, hey, this is going to be unique. And they found that it is unique. And that's a part of the question earlier, like, what does everybody do? Well, it's a little different for everyone, but testing. Let's create something really awesome. Maybe let's not spend the whole budget. Let's spend a part of it and put it out there and see the response, and then change how we do it. Let's make it better. But it's about being awesome and showing the good that you're doing, or showing the good that happens, or the beauty or the comedy, or the thing that really makes you unique. Showing that in a way that is not pushy, that you're creating something that I want to go see, that creates an inbound effect instead of pushing things into people's faces, because that's the big difference between content marketing and commercial marketing, and why content is king. I seek out Stranger Things. So if I see something on Facebook that is like Stranger Things, like the latest MG&E project, I'm going to seek that out and watch it, and I will have a good brand experience with MG&E, as opposed to seeing a commercial, getting something pushed to me, which they have their place, but they're just drastically different in what they can do. And I think that's maybe a good way to sum up content marketing and a good stopping point for now. All right, well, that's, I think, all we got on why content is king. So just go out there and, creatively think about what you can create. It could be a video. It could be something cool on the web. It could be something cool on Facebook, Snapchat, we're going to, maybe once I get my phone on Friday, we'll get a little bit more into that, because then I can help out with that as well. I don't even know what I'm doing with Snapchat.
I only Snapchat with my sister.
I'm so old.
That's the only thing I use it for.
Cat videos. Like, hey, here's a cat.
Yeah. See, I barely even. It's just like, what do you do with this thing?
That's how you know we're getting old. I feel like I used to know everything and be a part of every network, but yeah, now I'm like, oh my gosh. One of the guys I listen to in terms of investing, and he's like an investor and a business guy and just a real smart guy. What's his name? Gary Vanderchuk, I think.
That sounds like a made-up name.
He's a little creep. And he's like, yeah, I haven't gotten in trouble yet, but one thing I like to do when I'm in airports is find, somewhere around 13-year-old girls and look over their shoulder to see what they're doing, to see what's popular, because that is what I need to invest in, because that's what's going to blow up. And he was talking about software, and I was like, oh, dang. And it was maybe a year old or something, the podcast I was listening to. I was like, I've not even heard of that one. So far behind. Content marketing. That's it for content marketing. Next week, we have 6 movies and television shows that changed entertainment history with Jeff Bell. That's going to be really fun. He does lots of other podcasts and stuff, so he talks about this stuff all the time. It's going to be really great. Entertainment informs how we market, so it's really good to talk about those types of things as well. And that's it, I think, right?
Yeah.
We did it. Yay!